Barbadians urged to be more receptive to ex-convicts. The reform of the postal service remains on track. And in sports, the Mumbai Indians are big winners in the Champions League.
Credible, balanced, committed. This is the CBC Evening News.
A very good evening to you. I'm Sophia Cambridge with this Sunday, October 9th edition of the CBC Evening News. In our top story tonight, a call for Barbadians to be more receptive of former inmates from the prison system. It comes from Superintendent of Prisons, Lieutenant Colonel John Nurse, who says too many ex-convicts return to a life of crime because of the continuous rejection they receive in society. He made the comments during a service at the St. John Parish Church, marking the start of Prison Service Week.
When we speak of the community, we are not merely speaking of those who live close to the prison, but the entire Barbadian community. Families need to get more involved with us to ensure the maintenance of strong family and social ties. Businesses need to partner with us to develop work solutions, business opportunities, and relevant training systems.
Lieutenant Colonel Nurse says the prison service remains committed to assisting ex-convicts to return to society with a positive attitude. He explains this process will help to minimize repeat offences.
Serving time should never be a waste of time. For all of us, what is significant is that every year a number of persons complete their sentences and return to our communities. If we are able to dissuade them from reoffending through our various programs, we can prevent scores, if not hundreds, of new crimes every year. In the process, we reduce harm to society, making Barbados a safer place for all.
Well, plans remain on track to reform the Barbados Postal Service. News of this from Postmaster General Joel Brathwaite during a service at the St. Leonard's Anglican Church to mark World Post Day. Mr. Brathwaite has also lauded employees for making the Postal Service the #1 performing entity in the public service. He says it's been able to maintain its outstanding performance despite the challenges it faces.
The staff of the Post Office must be highly commended for the outstanding results in the National Initiative of Service Excellence Customer Satisfaction Index for 2010, in which the Post Office was the highest customer satisfaction rating for the public sector agencies surveyed. The results were unknown this year. What was also very significant about the survey was the finding that the results of the local posts were well above the industry average when compared to postal administration like Singapore, United States, and United Kingdom, something that we can cherish.
Well, two St. Michael men are on a mission to assist young people living in the Pine with their social and educational development. The High Definition Project is targeted at youth living in the Pine in an effort to enhance their talents, creative skills, and to overcome learning disorders. Director of the project, Oct09, says long before the Pine was viewed negatively, it was known for several cultural and sporting activities. He added that the aim of the project is to regain that positive outlook, but he says they must do so with the help of the younger generation.
Right now you have Pinelands doing other things, but due to the negative going on, one negative here, one negative here, it seems like the negative overtaking. So my job and my dream is to change that through the young people with the cooperation and the help from Mr. Hamilton Lashley and Patrick Bullen and the participation, the full support of the parents within the Pine. I just want people to understand, Pine got talent. You understand? Pine got talent, Barbados. We here, Fifth Element HD, on the move.
Technical Director and Coordinator Patrick Bullen says a major concern is the learning challenge which some children in the community, especially males, are facing.
The age group is going to be from about 10 to 14, because you will be surprised that there are young men at school at the age of 14 that still have difficulty in reading. and need help. And sometimes in the classroom environment, you don't get that one-on-one relationship. So that's the main focus.
Lawmen are continuing investigations into a recent shooting incident in the Deacons community. On Friday afternoon, a businessman reportedly shot his employee in the leg. At that time, reports indicate that the employee was allegedly armed with a cutlass. The injured man was taken to the Queen Elizabeth Hospital for treatment, and his injury is reportedly not life-threatening. The gun used during the altercation was a licensed firearm. No names have been released in respect of that incident. A distinguished Cuban lawyer says Barbados can do its part to bring justice to those who were killed in the 1976 Cubana plane crash. He is Jose Petera, who is involved in legal proceedings to have Luis Posada Carillas convicted of terrorism. Mr. Petera noted that the island continues to be affected as 58 people died in our waters. He was speaking during the Cuban Solidarity Evening at the Clement Payne Center under the theme Journey from Terror to Love and Life.
If the government of Barbados were to say to the government of the United States, we have an interest in this. There are 58 people buried in our waters. There's a plane off our coast. It's right by where the Four Seasons is being built right now. There's history there. There's history that binds us. The sea is history, as Derek Walcott said. And, you know, it would be helpful if you could get people in the government of Barbados to help us in this fight.
And the leader of the Clement Payne movement, David Comejong, wants government to support the calls for justice.
We are calling upon the Frondel Stewart administration. We know that CARICOM 4 years ago took a position giving general support to the Venezuelan request for the extradition of Posada Carillas. But we Barbadians, we have a stake in this that goes beyond CARICOM.
Top literary artists are being assured by the National Cultural Foundation that they will receive assistance in developing their trade. Chief Cultural Officer Andrea Wells says those who have done well at this year's National Independence Festival for Creative Arts, or NIFCA, will receive funding or any other form of assistance. She added that writers will reap the reward of being published, which is costly and proves to be a challenge at both the junior and adult level. Ms. Wells was speaking during a press briefing at Goddard Enterprises, Lower Broad Street, as the NCF received a check from the sponsor for the 15th consecutive time.
Artists are beginning to take advantage of online publishing services, but the NCF through NIFCA has over the years committed to publishing the top awarded pieces in our NIFCA anthology. And depending on the numbers, often we have an anthology that reflects both entries in poetry and prose, an adult anthology and a junior anthology. 2 years ago, for the very first time, we offered an audiobook, which is the anthology published, but the works being read and performed on CD format, Cricket Ball in the Sky.
Ms. Wells also said that literary arts has undergone a major technological transformation.
I think the challenge that remains for the NCF and for our artists is to determine the best way to get their books published. I'm aware that there's some entrepreneurial activity in this regard where there's at least one Barbadian who's seeking to make the digital download of books by Barbadian writers more readily accessible, both as a service to the writers and a product being offered to the public. So there is a lot of exciting developments in the literary field in Barbados that are driven by the wider use of digital technology.
The Caribbean has failed to achieve the minimum standards set for having women in key political decision-making positions. That's according to Parliamentary Secretary in the Ministry of Health, Senator Irene Sandiford Garner. She was speaking at the launch of a book outlining the contribution of women to the regional political process. Senator Sandiford Garner says Guyana has come closest to meeting the 30% requirement set down by international bodies.
A brief for the Honourable Mayor Motley. We are on opposite ranks at the top of the list of female representatives, elected representatives, with a total of 21%, or 24 men to 5 women. And they have introduced the quota system, though. Guyana has it. You then have Grenada at 19%, or 16 men to 3 women. Dominica with 16%, 19 men to 3 women. Trinidad and Tobago at 16%, 37 men to 6 women. St. Vincent and the Grenadines, 13 men to 2 women. And Barbados comes in 7th in CARICOM with 14%, 26 men to 4 women.
And Senator Sandiford Garner says there's still a strong perception that the political environment is hostile to women. She referred to the treatment meted out to Trinidad's current Prime Minister Kamala Persad-Bissessar, Jamaica's former leader Portia Simpson Miller, and Barbados's former opposition leader Mia Mottley. Senator Sandiford Garner says in the case of Ms. Mottley, there's nothing to suggest that she's incapable of being a good leader.
I don't think I have a brief for the Honourable Mayor Motley. We are on opposite sides, and God willing, when I get in the House, we will go toe-to-toe, because that is the nature of our politics. But I am also a woman in politics, and I would be silly, I would be unwise not to continue to condemn what I saw, because it could happen to any one of us who would wish to step up. We are definitely an endangered species.
Still on the political scene, but over in Castries, the leader of the fledgling National Development Movement, Osbert Dovergine, is calling on Prime Minister of St. Lucia, Stephenson King, to remove former Housing Minister Richard Frederick as a candidate in the ruling United Workers' Party in the upcoming general election. According to Mr. Dovergine, the United Workers' Party political leader must for once think of the image of the country and of the implications of his actions. He says it's time that Prime Minister King shows some moral courage and does what is right for the country. This as he presented 3 more NDM candidates to contest the general elections that are likely to be held later this year. Minister Frederick resigned his ministerial position after the United States last month revoked both his diplomatic and his personal visitor's visa.